Hello girls, the purpose of this video is to give you some updated advice about your Year 9 elective history assessment task. It will be submitted by 9 a.m. via Canvas on May 18. There is no longer a test component to the task, which means the previous advice I gave you is outdated. Hence I'm doing this new video. Now, so the nature of the task and the purpose of the task has not changed. Unless you've been advised differently, so you've been given a separate task to do for whatever reason, you will still be in an explanatory essay comparing and contrasting Athens and Sparta on these following points. Now, you've been given the linked resource previously that has the sample essay in response to the question, this given question here. And you've completed your practice essay and you've been given feedback. These are additional resources, so let's have a look at these resources. First of all, planning advice. Okay, this is some planning advice that you would be well advised to take. So think about the whole purpose of it. You're writing an essay that is researched, so there is information that is targeting the question. This essay involves comparison. How are you going to do your research? How are you going to use your teacher-provided information? So remember that your research grid is a great research tool because you sort and gather as you go. It helps to keep your information organised. You need to be using a research grid. An example of a research grid has been provided to you in that linked sample. It is actually part of the assessment task requirements for you to show that you have used a research grid where you have your information listed under the references that you've used. The research grid is actually useful because it will show up gaps in your research that need to be filled. Okay, your research grid is part of that preparation, so we've talked about that. Think about what is going to go into each paragraph. So your introduction, that's going to be a summary of your main argument. You've been given examples of introductions. A body paragraph for the different areas of comparison. So think about options for those paragraphs. Do you compare Athens and Sparta in the one paragraph for each topic? Or do you take two paragraphs to compare Athens and Sparta for that topic? For example, if you're comparing the experiences of girls, the education of girls in Athens and Sparta, do you start with a strong statement that shows that you're making the comparison of the experiences of girls in Athens and Sparta on the topic of education, and then talk about girls in Athens, and then in the next paragraph talk about the experiences of girls in Sparta? Or do you want to do it in the one paragraph? You've got the option. Do it in one paragraph or do it in two paragraphs, but it is your responsibility to make it very clear that you are making a comparison on that particular topic. Either approach would work as long as you have a clear topic sentence at the beginning of the paragraph and that you use the paragraph or paragraphs to compare. If in doubt, perhaps use the one paragraph. A possible approach is to write the intro, Then write the topic sentence for each paragraph. In doing that, you've got to sort out what paragraph approach you're going to be using, whether it's the one paragraph when you're comparing a particular Athens and Sparta on a particular topic, or if you're going to divide that into two. So you write the topic sentences, then you write the paragraphs. Then you check those paragraphs to make sure that you have used comparison contrast words, phrases such as both, while, in contrast, whereas, different. These are the kinds of words, girls, that flag the fact that you are doing a comparison. Okay. Now we're going to have a look at an essay scaffold. A scaffold is a framework. So you're going to copy this document, you're going to use it. Your toolkit of comparative terms. So if you are pointing to similarities, you will use words such as like, similar to, similarly, just as, in the same way, both. If you are pointing to differences, you're going to be using phrases such as in contrast to, distinct from, different to or different from, however, where, while. Every time you use a comparative word or phrase in your essay, copy it here. This table will remind you about the importance of comparative language in an essay like this. Look, girls, you don't have to come straight to the table to copy the term or paste the term after you've used it. Perhaps you could use this as a test after you've written a paragraph or two. Check that paragraph for some of these terms. Have you used any of these terms to flag, to show that you are comparing? If you have, write it here. So this could be the similarity column, this could be the difference column. The introduction sums up your argument without providing too much detail. It uses the key terms of the question and makes some general statements about similarities and differences between ancient Athens and Sparta. It gives us basic information about the where, when, and the what. Remember, it should be possible for someone that doesn't know your essay question to work out what that question is through reading your introduction. In your draft, intro, bold up, use the bold font every time you use a key word of the question in order to test yourself whether you are using them. You could even go to a parent or guardian, sibling, and say, okay, can you read this introduction and then tell me what you think the question was? If they are able to guess what the question was, then that's a pretty good test that you've written a good intro. Okay, your body paragraphs are chopping up the essay into paragraphs that will focus on different aspects of that question. So your first paragraph or pair of paragraphs should focus on government. The topic sentence for the first paragraph should make a comparative statement about the governments of Athens and Sparta, then move into a detailed explanation of the Athenian government. Then in the rest of that paragraph or the next paragraph, you will move on to an explanation of the Spartan government. You will signal this move with a comparative statement that begins with a phrase such as, in contrast to Athens, Sparta did blah-de-blah. Similarly, Sparta, blah, blah, blah. Do not do as some of you did in the practice task, compare Athens and Sparta in every single sentence. That becomes unclear in that we don't ever really get a good, clear sense of what's going on in Athens, or we don't get a good, clear sense of what's going on in Sparta because the comparison is too much and chops up all the information. So think of, okay, I've got a little frame around the section that I'm filming. So a frame is really important, okay? So think of your comparative statement at the beginning of your paragraph as creating a nice clear frame, so everything's going to hang together. And then you're going to do some clear colouring in within that frame. You're going to give this explanatory detail. So you compare, point to the similarities or differences every so often. Okay, that's like a nice frame, and then you explain what's going on in Athens. Another point of comparison, explain what's going on in Sparta. That makes it much clearer. Okay, see your toolkit of comparative terms and make sure that you use at least 2 comparative words in the course of explaining the Spartan government and comparing it with Athens. So at least 2 comparative words, not 20. In sum, you may write 1 or 2 comparative paragraphs on the topic of Athenian and Spartan government. Your next paragraph or pair of paragraphs should focus on the education of girls in the 2 city-states. The first topic sentence for the first paragraph of this section should make a clear comparative statement about girls' education in Athens and Sparta. Similar or different. Then move into the explanation of the approach to girls' education in ancient Athens. Then, in the rest of that paragraph, or the next paragraph, if you're going to take 2 paragraphs to do this, you will move into an explanation of the approach to girls' education in Sparta. Okay, and then exactly as I put for the previous paragraph or pair of paragraphs. Then your next paragraph or pair of paragraphs should focus on the education of boys in the 2 city-states, and so on. So what I've told you here, girls, is that the body of your essay will either have 3 clear, nice fat paragraphs, or 6 paragraphs. It's up to you. Conclusion. Like your introduction, you'll be making some strong comparative statements about ancient Athens and Sparta. Your conclusion does not need to be as long as your introduction. So girls, you can view this video a few times if you need to. We have had to change the assessment task for obvious reasons, and I apologise if that has been at all unsettling, but at this point in time, we are imagining that the best thing would be for you to submit your essay online. Now, no matter what other changes happen, we will not change this submission detail. So you won't be writing it up as a partial test in class, something that you've researched and then you write up under exam conditions. No, you may submit it on Canvas. So all the best, girls. Bye for now.